All right, we are back. We are friends of the devil, and we're getting the devil in detail. Ben, what's up, man?
Vivat Grendel, Eli. It's nice to be
Vivat
here.
Grendel, Ben. I love the way that sounds whenever I listen back to us when I'm editing. I love Vivat Grendel, Ben.
Yeah, right.
I am Grendel Ben Hunter. that is my Hebrew name, Grendel Ben Hunter, son of Hunter.
This is episode 3 of
Episode 3?
The Devil in Detail. It's our Grendel comic reread podcast.
This week we are getting into Comico Grendel number 3. Last week we said we were doing it, but we just didn't get to it. So I think we're going down to the one issue an episode. Also reading from the Grendel archives in order to not get my grubby little fingers on my sweet Comicos.
It's just rich stuff. And you know, when we look across the landscape of comics review content, YouTube land, it's a lot of and then this happened and this happened and then this happened. And yeah, we've got that, but there's not a lot of comics formalism being discussed, and we're trying to really dig into craft and cartooning and storytelling and layout and all that kind of good stuff too. So
yeah, and you can really see oh yeah, exactly. And you can really see just over the course of these first 3 issues, the things that Matt was trying, the creative, artistic things that he was trying, and it really goes into a lot. He really tries a lot of different patterns and textures in this new issue 3. So we're really going to get into that later. But first, Ben, what have we been up to? I mean, we're 2 creative types, both getting going. So what you been up to, dude?
Well, I've been working with my team writing, and you're part of that team, to write and lay out the second issue of our comic. It's called Oh Fuck Why, and it's about a group of it's about a group of 20-something idiots who get powers from radioactive tacos, and the powers are based. Oh God, this is the worst pitch ever.
No.
Anyway, they have powers based on their drug of choice, and in order to save the universe, they'll have to stay super stoned.
Nice, dude. I love it.
Yeah, it's like Ren and Stimpy come. I don't know. It's like Ren and Stimpy meets Jordan Vasquez with a touch of indie superheroes thrown in there.
Yeah, I mean the elevator pitch is coming. I mean that's one of the next steps, but.
Yeah, well, I'm not quite in the mindset that we're recording yet. This is still the casual.
Right. This is still.
So I've been working on that, and I've been coloring pages for. Can I name the project for Image Comics Grand Design?
Yes, actually, I think we're taking it down to just Image Grand Design. I think that way Design? There's less of a
I see.
copyright infringement.
It's not called Image Comics Grand Design.
I think we decided to change that a little bit. I hope.
Yeah, so I'm doing that, and I'm coloring.
It's looking awesome.
Thanks, man. And I'm working in CMYK in Procreate, and I'm a little confused, but I think that my textures and my ideas are good. I'm watching videos by like Matt Hollingsworth and other people on YouTube, and it's very like, this is the way to do it in Photoshop, and this is the right way to do it. And it's just not jazzy enough for me, Eli.
Your colors aren't jazzy enough yet?
Well, the approach isn't, jazzy enough. So I'm not, I'm using some alpha lock channels, but I'm not really flatting, the proper way. Anyway. Got it. But that's, what are you up to creatively this week?
This is Raja, everyone. He's also a big Grendel fan. He's allowed to walk wherever he wants, so I'm not gonna. But I've been continuing to work on the Wizard second print. I found, actually, thanks to Greg Giordano, he helped me find a printer in Vermont who might print the gold covers with like a glossy kind of foily cover to make the gold kind of pop and to give it a kind of little extra flair. So I'm working with him. He's going to do a free proof for me that he's printing up now and going to send it to me. So that's really cool. So hopefully I can get that. The pre-orders have been going for a week. I said I would do 2 weeks and then start the printing process. So we've got another week. I've sold a bunch. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's about 8 pages of orders on my GoDaddy thing. So that's a lot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's
So
doing
you
good.
have the gimmick pages, you said those are limited to 50, but I guess you're going to print on demand for the regular cover.
Well, I think I'm going to print about 200 of
Okay.
like the original cover, and then 50 and 50. And then
Super.
I've had retailers reach out to me, which is like super cool. So I need to figure out the cost so that I can charge them at cost. And, so I need to figure all that out. I wrote an outline for a new character that I'm going to be working on. Who is, let's see, I want to keep it fairly under wraps, but it's about a comic book artist and writer, a cartoonist who is actually the child of chaos and is an undying character that has been living for all time and print zines and was there with Gutenberg and
Cool.
print zines.
Well, I can see where you're kind of pulling from in a few different directions.
Oh man, there's going to be a lot of fun stuff to do, like where he's, I thought of this fun gimmick where he's like publishing punk comics in the 80s, punk zines in the 80s, but he's actually got art from like Leonardo and like Dali and like these Gutenberg write-ups that people believe are like his creativity, but it's actually like, no, I just like have art from Leonardo because I've been alive for the entirety of creation. So there's a lot of fun stuff to work with on this.
It certainly sounds better than my new character this week, Carmichael Motorcycle. That's it.
That's all you got so far?
His name is Carmichael Motorcycle, and I think he's going to team up with my other character, Man Gun.
Nice, man.
And
yeah.
So you're a little bit further ahead. Speaking of orders and pre-orders, there's some big Matt Wagner book release news this week.
That's right. I wish we could team up with Amazon to get one of those links below where you can click on and pre-order it, and then we would get some back money. We're going to have to start working on some of that.
Of course, we're talking about the Matt Wagner Batman Omnibus, a 500-page hardcover collecting maybe 15, 17 comics from the last.
So beautiful, including Mad Monk, including Faces, including Red Hood. No. What's the other one?
Monster Men.
Yeah. Oh, God, that was so good.
And
Hugo Strange up in that one.
Yeah. So there's like 3 miniseries and a few one-shots.
His Black, White, and Red that he probably the one he was telling us about where he used up all the screen tones that he had left over from Grendel. Oh my God! And you said when that's coming out? June
23rd, I think. I'm not totally sure. Yeah. So that's.
Order it through your local comic shop though before you go to any online Amazons or anything. Try to order it through your local LLC. No, LCS. Oh, that's my grandfather's initials. I never thought of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Wordsmith.
Yep.
The Macintosh program designed.
Call them up. 1-800 comic book.
Oh yeah, that's right. I used to do that all the time. 1-800 COMIC book.
This week we've got Grendel number 3, 1980, Comico.
And we pick up, and it's the final Hunter Rose book published by Comico.
Right. Well, before Devil by the Dude.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
It's one of the final Hunter Rose books published by Comico.
The final in the initial volume 1 run.
That is a nice comic, Eli.
Thanks, dude. It's in great condition, man.
Yeah, looks really good. No holes in this one.
No. There's some minor spine work, and there's a couple runs, but every corner is pretty good. We have the Evangelion ad on the back.
That was the Chuck Dixon book that was supposed to be their big. Matt said it was gang printed with Mage.
Oh, that's right.
They were banking on big things, and I think that's a book that I think had some legs and might have been through a few publishers through the 80s and maybe even into the 90s.
Yeah, there was a number of great books that started with Comico and moved forward.
Yeah. So I recently lost a low stakes eBay auction on this comic in the last few months.
Oh, dang.
And it wasn't very expensive, and I lost by like $2.50.
I hate that. Someone probably slooped in right at the end, man.
Well, I'm not a very experienced. I did watch Uncut Gems this week, but I'm not a very experienced auctioneer.
You really got to be there. like up until the last second if you're going to win it, because even if you've been winning it for 5 days, someone's just going to swoop right in there.
Don't mean shit.
Nope.
Cool.
All right.
Yeah. What
Oh,
do you
wow.
see? What is this, watercolor airbrush on the cover here?
It does seem like that. I mean, it almost looks like marker, but I mean, it's got and even like some of the textures in the green, it kind of looks like oil or something, or.
Right. Oh, in the background, yeah, you can kind of see some brush strokes in there. Yeah, I definitely see some marker in the Grendel mask.
Right.
This is, and you can definitely see the anime in Stacy, especially in that reflection in her hair. That always reminds me of Katsuhiro Otomo.
Definitely. Almost looks like a crown or something.
Mm-hmm.
This book is barely been opened. It won't stay open, it's in that good of a condition. But we enter on Grendel in First Acquaintance. Oh, inks by Reggie Byers on this one, lettered by Jerry Giovincio. So this is the first one that Matt hasn't done all by himself. I wonder if that's true.
Interesting. It's funny to see that. Who's that letterer?
Jerry Giovinco.
So Jerry. So JG. He kind of follows through with Matt's kind of fluffy cloud balloon style.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see right away he's sort of bringing a little bit more like acting to it, especially in the way that the tails kind of swoop and splash in, and that's not really something that we've seen quite before. So that's an interesting little nod.
And good.
Another thing that I would just notice right off the bat is I was very quick to kind of complain about those proto manga eyes on Stacy last issue.
Mm-hmm.
And even on the cover of this one. And right off the bat, you can see Matt kind of dialing that in and really getting a tighter acting feel on Stacy's like traumatized catatonic look.
Right. And I mean, over the next couple pages, she kind of stays that way because it's obviously she's experiencing a very traumatic moment with the death.
It's not the last time in her life that she'll be in this state.
No, it's not.
And here she is holding Uncle Barry's presumably dead hand as he's passed out, or he's dead on the floor in his office as Hunter and other partygoers rush to the aid of these poor Palumbos.
And another thing that starts off on this page and continues really heavily throughout the book is the textures, the amount of textures and screen tone that he's using right here, especially on the floor. Yeah. And I actually reached out to Matt to just get a little bit of info on the textures that he's using this issue. And so he said of the rug and what we'll be seeing like in walls and stuff moving forward, he said the first one is the old school toothbrush splatter. You dip a toothbrush in ink and then flick it with your thumb to make it spritz. The key is to do it in such a way so that it looks even or not, as the case may be. So that's how he is doing these kind of splatters. It's not a screen tone or it's not some sort of something else. It's done with the old school toothbrushing. So then, what does he block out the other?
Masking off the white areas.
I guess so. I didn't ask any further, but.
Cutting masks, that's a real analog pain in the neck that we will never have to deal with again.
Yeah, thankfully, man. But the great textures continue all through as we move to the next page. And we really see, as you like, these stacked panels, man, and Stacy really just frozen.
Yeah, this isn't the only place in this book where we're going to see some nice static camera choreography. Where Hunter, waves his hand over her and then puts his hands on her shoulders and the face doesn't move. And then her tear rolls down her cheek. I think that, my favorite bit of this page, however, is just Hunter's face in that second to last panel. You get a real, very Matt Wagner cartooning kind of look, that mature look kind of peeking through a little bit. So I'm and
almost like giving the side eye to all these people who are around, like making all this commotion and not even, for their own, oh, gasp, he's dead, blah, blah, blah. And not even taking into account that here's a small girl who already lost both her parents and now is losing her uncle.
We have to remember that Hunter is a guy who he's 15 steps ahead of everybody. And that may or may not include us, the reader, in this situation.
Right.
We'll talk at the end, I'm sure, about where this was going to go, and Devil by the Deed gives us a sense of that. But there's a lot for this story, which is I would call it semi non-canonical. There's certain stuff that isn't necessarily maybe or maybe not followed through on. Anyway.
Right, exactly. A lot of stuff is set up in this book. Relationships, people, and really, who killed Palumbo here.
Yeah.
Do we ever find out?
Will we ever find out? Speaking of relationships that move forward, on the next page we've got some good Larry stuff.
We got some Larry. Old Lair.
Yeah.
He's like, what's happening? And it's Barry Lair. He's dead. He's dead, Jim. And so then this is kind of an example of you talking about Hunter a few steps ahead. He's like telling Barry, he's dead, but I need you to cover for me with the caps so that, I can get little Stacy, my little chickadee, to bed and get her out of harm's way. But really, he's about to take to the night.
Soon as Larry is off to do that task, Hunter's immediate thought is, too bad I'll have to kill the guy now.
I know, yeah.
Which kind of speaks to what we were talking about with that scene with Larry last time, where it seemed, Hunter maybe who knew what about who is Grendel and who isn't. Well, now it's clear that Hunter really was surprised by Larry because
when he said, "I work for Grendel."
Yeah, we gotta kill the dude.
Yeah, he knows too much already. And we get another splatter panel here that's like, it's basically like they're walking in front of a giant Jackson Pollock or something like that. It's really, I think it's a really great page.
Very cool, very cool. So
that's the panel too that I sent to Matt to be like, yo, dude, what are you doing? How you doing this?
With the craft tint. Yeah, it must have. Yeah, I think that there might be a few spots around the word balloons.
Oh, I see that.
Where
yeah,
the mask is maybe not, just
perfect.
0.05% imperfect. Who cares?
Yeah, I mean, it still looks great. So as we continue along, too bad. Yeah, there it is. Like, too bad I can't let Larry live after that. So, and then like again, you still see Stacy like completely frozen.
And, while Hunter's choreographed in the closet, getting out his
staff, and then he's like, "Sorry, hun, Vulcan nerve pinch."
Yeah, right. And I didn't see that the first time I looked it through. I think it's also funny here that in the future, in future stories, Hunter is in public with the walking stick.
Like it's kind of like
here it's in the closet for whatever reason.
And like, is that Stacy's closet? Like he just keeps his like weapons stashed in her room, or what? Maybe that's like a hallway closet or something, because he continues to like walk her like through this doorway and then
into the patio, the Palumbo patio. All right.
See, that was kind of confusing to me. I thought it was like maybe the roof, but then the roof is in the future, and this is like still in flashback from the previous episode. And I think later, and you can kind of see on this next page, I think this is a ground floor. Like he's actually walking out into a garden, which is kind of strange. Like he's leaving her outside by herself.
Well, the big fight effectively taking place in the backyard.
Right. And he's like, "I'll be back in a minute, sweetheart." But I like this. I like this kind of explaining the transformation. Mm-hmm. Mask and gloves sewn into the jacket. Burst the incendiary capsule to self-destruct the jacket, and so we're off. And this is kind of good.
It's very. It just seems like a DC comic.
Yeah, exactly.
There's
even an old Iron Man comic that I've read where he's like, "Put on the gloves, electrocute the electric steel to like So it's kind of like. It's interesting too because Grendel Hunter Rose kind of has these two costumes that he's really very much known for, like the all black costume, but then the suit costume too, which is it's kind of like
wearing the tuxedo.
Yeah, exactly. So He's
It
got
looks
kind of
great. Well, it's the tuxedo with the gloves, which really kind of throws it off. One thing that I wanted to make mention here is that we've got the bum bum bum. The Wednesday people are going to lose their minds at the left-handed stack, the dreaded left-handed layout stack.
yeah.
I have no problem with it. I think it's super obvious how you're supposed to read it, and it works just fine for me.
Right. You have to have the stack with the tall panel, or it's confusing, because you can see that it goes that first because of the action. But I understand what you're saying.
I just know people, pros and journalists and podcasters who blood in the water. They'll pounce if they see that stack. I don't care. I think it works great.
Yeah. See, you know way more about that kind of stuff than me, but that wouldn't have jumped out to me as like, oh, that's a no-no or something. It looks good.
One thing that I also really like is this pose in the final panel where he's Grendel and he's carrying her. That image, that pose is in Devil by the Deed, but from a different angle.
Right. And it's so cool looking back at these pages and seeing how he actually redoes key scenes for.
Yeah, from different angles. There's there's one, I think it's in issue 1, I suppose, where it's him and his books, the novels are in the.
That's right. Yeah, we talked about that one. Yeah, that's a great one.
So this is a lot of fun. Anyway,
so Grendel's off with Stacy Palumbo, and then next page we get Lieutenant Atkins busting in. All right, clear it out. He's got a curvy hand going on.
Yeah, man.
He's like, get out of my way, fools.
He's got his bell bottoms and his super short necktie.
He does. He's like, let's clear things out here. Please wait in the ballroom until further notice.
And this is really where it becomes like the movie Clue for a lot of it, where they get the suspects in there and they do their questioning and he kind of talks them through.
Right, and I think it's really a great way to add suspense to everything that's happening, because it's page by page, like cuts back and forth throughout the whole rest of the book with Grendel and with Atkins, the Atkins diet. Sorry, the Atkins, checking people out. Atkins, what's the word?
Interrogating them.
Interrogating. Yeah.
It's a casual interrogation, though.
It's got to be. Yeah, he doesn't have any warrants, and he wants to make that known.
But, yeah, the rhythm of the cross-cutting. I mean, we're going to get there, but the rhythms that are created get more and more and more intense. This comic really reads well, man. I think this one holds up, and it's probably the best of the three almost. Well, we finally got our Argent action sequence. And
oh, do we ever?
Really great. Anyway, Larry comes in the bottom panel. Oh, I might be able to help you out a little bit. Helpful Larry.
Uh-huh. He's always so helpful. And then he kind of cut, and then we cut back to Hunter, and he's honestly, this is a bad choice by Grendel.
He's an idiot. What are you thinking?
Yeah. He is leaving Stacy Palumbo on the sidewalk. I just need to arrange for some transport. I think it's because he's hollering at Radcliffe. He needs a pickup. And so he thinks he's just waiting there for a ride.
Yeah.
I get it. So he's just like, I'll put you down for a second while I holler at Radcliffe through my stick. Yo, Radcliffe, we need a pickup immediately. And then the unexpected.
I like Radcliffe a lot. In this story, there's in the Comico stuff, there's a lot more underlings than we see in future Hunter Rose stuff.
Absolutely.
There's that one Hunter Rose story that's just like in the boardroom the entire time.
Right.
Devil's Vagary, I think it is.
Right. That was the one that actually came with the Comico box. That was like a little one shot from the Comico box.
Okay. So that we get the whole crew is there, but in the Comico stuff we get these bell-bottom thugs who Argent kind of tears through, and Radcliffe I'm sure is just another one of these schmucks.
But we don't ever really see Radcliffe's face, do we?
No, he's just some guy.
Oh man, that's a black, white, and red story I'd like to.
Yeah, right. Who is Radcliffe and what happened to him?
Like it would start off with this panel where he's calling and he's like, "Yeah, boss," but it would be on Radcliffe's side. Like, where is he? Where is he waiting? Is he in a car somewhere close? I'm sure he's like always close to wherever Hunter is. So, maybe he's just like around the corner. Maybe Radcliffe could have pulled up, but he didn't. He missed. He didn't pull up in time. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it seems like in the future, Larry will kind of. Anytime we need anybody, it can be Larry.
It'll be old Lair.
Yeah. I want more Larry. I like Larry a lot.
Next page, beautiful splash right here.
Yeah.
This isn't exactly the way I had planned our first meeting, but either way, I'm sure it will be our last.
Yikes, a fight to the death. Look at Matt's use of multiple gauged screen tones to create the foliage of the trees.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, there's like some dots. There's cross hatching. There's...
Oh, man. Yeah, man. I think I believe optically it's called a Mores pattern. When the screen tones overlap and then you get kind of like you get something that you might not have intended. More
yeah. Matt went on a little bit further in our chat here. He said the latter example, meaning some of these later pages, are all screen tones, meaning yes, they're printed on clear adhesive backed acetate, which you then cut to size. And if you look on the left, you can see me using up tons of remnants all layered on top of each other to try and create a more organic texture. And I think that is on a page coming up later. I'll point it out. But yeah, he said old school tricks of the trade. At this point, they're kind of like learning how to churn butter and rig up a horse and buggy. Because there's such like, because you can just do it on the computer now. But, I said to him again, you can do it on the computer, but it's never going to look like this. Like you can never make it actually look like this again. There's no random, there's no all that stuff.
Well, you won't have the pride of having really done it.
Exactly. Having cut it all.
I really like the spots where he just pops some white in there, maybe with like some pro white or something like that. And the white kind of pops through. Very, very nice.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to Larry and Atkins, and Larry's lighting up a cig. Atkins is kind of sniffing around.
Cig. Not a cig.
Yeah, every person's smoke is in the world of Grendel, marijuana was never illegalized, and he's just smoking some Marlboro Greens there.
I just love the way it's a very Wagner cartooningism, just like the way the cigarettes lips kind of fit around the cigarettes, like kind of perfectly.
Right.
Very
love that stuff.
Yeah, very Wagner.
Those are all the things that I stole from his style when I was growing up. Like the smoking panel right there, like the eyes, the way it's all shadowed in, the circle, the way the smoke's curling around.
And then we got an 8-panel grid of Atkins doing his thing.
Yeah, sniffing around, looking at his liquor, sniffing around for perhaps some sort of motive or some sort of idea as to what killed old Palumbo.
Let me ask you a question so I'm talking about tier 2 of the page. That's panels 2 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
In the last 2 on this tier, so that's panels 4 and 5, do you think the camera is moving a little bit closer, or do you think that Atkins' head is moving to the closer to the camera as he gets a whiff of that?
Yeah, I think it's a slow zoom in,
slight
like
push
onto the action of the sniff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then of course,
and then a turn the camera, like whoo.
Yeah.
I smell
these last
something in there.
Panels where the camera is not moving
Mm-hmm.
is really, really well done with the choreography here.
Yeah, beautifully. Like you can see him pulling out bottles and then sniffing, and then there's 2, then there's 3, and he stands. And again, a multitude of screen tones of patterns on this page: the carpet, his legs, his jacket, the black background. Beautiful, 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 beautiful.
Yeah. We can't say enough good things. And then the moodiness of Argent in shadow.
Oh my God, yes.
Fantastic.
And all this like this cross hatching too that Matt's been doing as well. This is the panel that he was talking about when he said to the left, I'm using up all these, and it is done masterfully. It looks so cool. All these different textures piled up behind the Hunter Argent battle. Oh
The
man.
illustrious and legendary Argent. I've often wondered how long it would be till our paths crossed.
Yes.
Hunter is psyched.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
like who better a foe than one that can be described as illustrious and legendary?
Exactly. And again, like he's probably not interacted with someone that actually challenged him, you know? I mean, he doesn't have a giant rogues gallery that he's fighting someone different every week like Batman. There's not a ton of these crazy villains. So I mean, when he's usually just tussling with drug dealers, mobsters, gangsters. So like to actually have like a supernatural being, someone with enhanced strength, something that's going to really challenge him, he's like, let's fucking go.
And he knows it. He describes himself, for all his arrogance, he describes himself as scrawny here.
Oh yeah, he's like, so I foresaw to equip my fork with a little something extra, baby.
I really enjoyed the way that the electric crackle interacts with and kills some of the panel border.
Love that. And we got almost a little Kirby crackle in there.
Oh
and,
yeah,
and it's also, you know, crackle. So
and it says crackle.
yeah.
I'm not crazy about the legs in this bottom pose.
Grendel, yeah.
Yeah, I love the on guard, but I feel like I wish he had a little bit more grace. I wish the action line was a bit more arced.
Right. But it's very indicative of that early big feet American anime style. It sticks with that. And that continues with some of the poses of the dudes on the next page. But I wanted to say, like, this Argent coming at you is really cool. It's going to be, that'll be a fun edit to make in the video with that boy coming out.
Yeah, the pure white background behind it.
Oh, it helps. That helps.
Alpha Argent.
Alpha that shit.
Yeah.
So on the next page, of course, we're back to Atkins. The Atkins, did he or didn't he? The interrogation. Again, we see a ton of pattern. Like, this is probably the most pattern dense panel in the entire, other than this crazy one. But, you know, they're all wearing something different. And this dude on the couch who's like, ugh, that's the dude I'm saying whose big feet and stuff are really coming through.
Yeah. There's like 7 different tones here. I'm not sure if the polka dots are toned. I don't think they are.
But they're definitely the first thing you see on the page, you know, because it's such a different pattern. And then straight up, he calls him out later, and he's like, "Nice suit, bro," or something.
Well, I mean, a guy with that, you know, with a comb over and that weirdo necktie. I don't know if you should be, you know, making fashion calls, but neither should 2 guys in t-shirts. So
Hey. So he's just kind of saying, though, officially, like, you're all considered suspects. You all have a relationship with Palumbo. You all have kind of like, you know, you've butted heads, you've competed. So you're the 4 that I really want to find out who done it. What happened?
Hey, what happened? The things that you like about those eyes in this last panel, when we get them nice and close, just the sculpted shadows.
Love it.
Yeah, and then the cheek shadow. I always think of that as like a
Rick Geary.
Rick Geary, interesting. I was gonna say Drucker or Dave Sim.
Yeah.
The way that you kind of trace your shape and then hatch into it.
Oh yeah, that was something that I got from Rick Geary's work in Mad. That's where I first saw him, and those are lines that I tried to master for a long time, and I always did them in the wrong place. I would draw these like eye lines here, kind of like I got from Matt, and then I would draw them there. But that's not really where they are. They're from the bottom of your cheek right here. And I had to learn that recently because that's only a recent learn by me. It's interesting how you think of shit when you're a cartoonist.
Yeah, there's always more. Yeah, for me, one of my favorite Wagnerisms is probably more of a Sam Keith thing, and it's the sculpted shadow under the nose, really high contrast.
Yeah, like right here.
Just a drop shadow underneath.
Love that.
Yeah, one of my favorite cartoonists, Alex Robinson, who did Box Office Poison, is big on that one. I'm gonna get you that. Everyone read Box Office Poison, but
so Atkins is like, let's just consider this an informal chat, but really for him, it's more than that. And now we go back to the Argent Grendel battle. We have a wordless fight scene here. Really great dynamic work.
Well, one thing that I notice across, I think this page and maybe the ones coming up are just the different ways that Matt's representing kinetic energy.
Right.
With speed lines and arcs and stuff like that, especially in these in the second one, especially, it reminds me very much of an animation arc where you've got the arc and then you're ticking off where you want the frames to hit.
Okay.
So when Grendel kind of raises the fork, it's really easy to imagine just like the rhythm and force of that.
Right. Like he's jumping over him and then he goes, it's the next move, and he shoves him off and then Argent does like this kind of flip. And then you see Grendel like, anime at like, what do they call it? Avatar run or whatever. He's like, ah.
Oh, the Naruto run?
The Naruto run. He's like, da 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 da.
The contrasting motion arcs between panels is something that I really, really enjoy in comics, where you can in panel 1, Argent's arcing this way, and in panel 2, the contrast hits it perpendicularly.
Oh, right.
It really snaps in your imagination.
And a lot of times in these stacks, sometimes it can be like 4 separate, moves, punches, retaliation. But in this one, it's just consecutive, like 4 moves that happen probably like in 1 second. It's just one movement, and then Grendel continues to advance.
The action slows down just a little bit in that third panel where Argent gets that Steve Ditko animation.
Right.
Where he does some acrobatics to kind of take a moment to lick his wound.
And really the action, like as you're reading this, the action is really building right now. And that's what makes this such a good comic, because then you have to wait again, because now we get kind of like a long-winded description of all 4 of these people and why they could have done it.
This layout reminds me a lot of the one where they introduced Rachel Coleman, where she's standing in the center.
Exactly, yeah.
We talked about that last time. Just where like the storytelling intention is super straightforward, and I don't need to, it's like if when Matt does really complicated storytelling stuff, you have to process it because it's dense. Here, I don't want to say spoon feeding you, but it's like, this is what it is, and like even if you didn't read the text, you'd still get the vibe of the page really really easily.
And it's kind of like we keep referring to Clue, but it's also like their kind of intention and their mood is super reflected on their faces and on their kind of like reactions. And so we can see Mallory Dexter, Palumbo's rival in the real estate game. He's kind of like, He's like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then we have Jack Ketis, Palumbo's business partner, in name only. And he's just kind of like, and you can see that you would get these like, in a movie, you would get these kind of like close up, half shadow type of things, like, are they good or are they bad? Like, who's got the motivation? Then we see Rachel Coleman again, the girlfriend, and we see Richards, the butler, Palumbo's favorite verbal whipping post.
Now, I'm going to tell you, I don't think Richards has enough motivation.
He doesn't have he's out of a job.
Richards at all. Yeah. What was the jibe? Barry said that he might as well have had Dracula for a butler.
Yeah. So he was his favorite whipping post. My favorite whipping post is probably from Eat a Peach or one of those Live at the Fillmore East. Get it? Because Allman Brothers. Oh yeah, the Zappa whipping post is bomb. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like a spliff, man.
Like I've been tied. I'll play that a little here. And then back to Grendel.
Yeah, it's a wonderful contrast between just no one's moving and then everything's moving.
Oh my gosh, so much action. A wave of blood, a wave of shadows, Argent kind of like dashes and dodges the electric fork and then gets a slash in the back.
You can really feel the Argent drawings getting better and better and better. I mean, this first one is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
The quality, the kinetic quality of the arcs of the fork,
right?
Really well done.
And again, it takes the panel border out. The gutters swoop into the movement, and you can feel the movement of the page directed by all of that.
Yeah.
Until the final panel, it's stopped by Argent catching the fork. Bam.
Love it.
So good.
Yeah.
And then back again to the Atkins diet over here. Mr. Dexter, we know you hated Palumbo. Ever thought of killing him?
What is he doing? Is he brushing
farting?
dust off his?
He's letting his fart out the bottom of his pants.
Out the bottom of his
pants. And that was an epic one. No, he exhaled his cigar like down through his shirt, and it's just working his way out. And he's like,
yeah, it looks like a baseball player tapping the dust off his cleats or something like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like something. That's like how adults spoof their weed. He just breathes down into his shirt, and then he jiggles it down and then lets it out his boot heel.
Well, Mallory Dexter won't dignify this ridiculous conversation.
He's like, this is the second time he's there like this too. At the beginning, he's there like this. So that's a power move right there.
It's very funny when he gets that intro. You were talking about how it's super anime. Here he seems to be dialed back a little bit.
Yeah,
it almost feels like he's missing a like a Mark Twain mustache.
Yeah, it almost looks like he just went like, I won't dignify that with an answer. You know, like smooth his eyebrows down. He's just a swarmy, businessy. He's got the like long hair. He's probably got like a little mullet action going on.
He was screwed over recently by shady means. Palumbo is so shady.
Oh my God.
There's so many black, white, and red stories waiting to be written about Barry. But Dexter Mallory was invited to this party only to have Barry's recent success rubbed into his face, and he was too proud to refuse the invitation. So he just showed up to be a smarmy goofball.
And now he's being accused of murder, which is like, come on. This is not a good night for... and then Mr. Kiedis, exactly how much did you resent Palumbo and his great success in your firm? And so then we see that his motivations could have been guilt. And then this next panel, another classic matte face, the screen tone, the lines, the embroiled, hatch that's coming off of him. He resented him a lot, but not enough to kill him. He's not the type.
He's simmering.
Right. Killers don't wear polka dots.
Yeah, right.
Atkins.
Very weird.
And then Atkins is like, And back to the action.
Back to the action.
Woo!
The hardcore violence. The reason we came.
Oh, yeah. And so Argent is really using his strength and just kind of throws Grendel right off with his own damn stick.
Yeah, the second panel, the perspective is really great. The way Grendel's leg overlaps the arc of the motion and use of speed lines really feel the strength and the power.
Absolutely. That's an ambitious pose right there. I wonder if Matt used like a lot of people use those life models. There's life model decoys. No, they use the, they'll use like an action figure, a mannequin. To kind of get that.
The thing is, I wonder if anyone ever used one of those wooden mannequins because they don't do anything.
No.
I would much.
I use my action figures. I have a Madman figure actually that's got a ton of articulation, and that's what I'll use. But
they have those. I think they're called bodycoons. They're Japanese, and they really pose up quite nicely. The problem is they're in the shape of people who are in peak physical shape, so you can't get any kind of
right.
If you want to draw someone who's like built like a normal person, you still got to use your imagination.
Yeah, you got to add in the
when
some carbs.
When people are relying, as someone who traces hands when I've got hand close-ups, I can judge my fellow reference tracers, but I gotta tell you, when I need a hand, I think that in my Image comic, David Browers is inking Julie Winters handling a Pez dispenser or something like that. Nice. And I just Googled hand loading Pez. I wasn't about to draw it from memory or whatever,
I had a really embarrassing moment in high school or middle school. I think it was high school, maybe 6th or 7th grade. I wasn't paying attention at all in Spanish class. I'm over here actually literally practicing hands. And so I was sitting here like this, staring at a hand, like my own hand, trying to draw it. And the teacher's like, and Eli's not even paying attention. He's over here staring at his hands. And the whole class up in laughter. And I'm like, what? it was true. I was staring, but that was very embarrassing.
That was true. Yeah,
But
I was called in college. I was called out by another student for drawing, and the professor said, "No. Well, if Ben's over there doodling, it should Ben is drawing." I got away with it.
Right, man. So Argent flips Grendel right off. Grendel smashes into a wall, and Argent just basically chucks the stick into a tree.
I love the walk sound effect. You can feel the hollowness. Yeah. It's a very it just has like a very Peter Max kind of Zap Comics quality to it.
Yeah.
Something. It's very 70s. I love it.
And you can tell there's like a reaction happening because you get the walk, which is like round, it's like rounded letters to kind of, have it like be like hollow and round sound. Then we have the lines, we have the fuzz, we have a little bit of smoke, and we have a sizz. So you can tell that one thing happens and then a reaction to that thing.
Yeah, really, really nice.
Walk and sizz. And then back to
Atkins.
back to Atkins. And this is the halfway point of the book, or at least where the staples are in the comic. What about you, Richards? Ever thought of slipping a little something in Barry's morning coffee?
Which is exactly how he died. Something was slipped into his bevs.
Exactly.
Which Atkins would have access to. Of course.
Absolutely.
No, sir. What do you make of this? This is the Jim Rugg.
It is.
Tone.
Yep, the circle.
Yeah.
And then again, what is old Atkins doing with his hand there? He's like playing with his nail or something like that. He's a nervous guy. He's although confident in his detectiveness, he's still always portrayed as fiddling with something or never, or like a Commissioner Gordon where he's like he's always seemingly fiddling with something like his boot or his fingers here. So he's not as confident as he wants to be. He doesn't know.
That's a good call. Animators would call that his business, what business he has to work out. It's always just some kind of fiddle.
Yeah, he's always fiddling with something.
Never saw that. Anyway,
back to the action.
This is a really fantastic layout. You can see the Art Deco that's gonna come in later on, but this is like Frank Lloyd Wright, eat your heart out on this one.
Yeah, dude. Beautiful. Kind of free flowing too. You have kind of like an A story and a B story kind of. You got the walk and sizz that's happening. We got the tree. It's starting to catch fire. It's starting to sizz.
And the camera pulls out slightly.
Exactly, yep.
Pulls out maybe, 10 feet or whatever.
Well, we got another great Wagner shadow panel here at the top with Argent. Mm-hmm. Some action. Hunter's kind of recovering. Does a quick wow, a quick kick up. Oh man, I'm spitting all over this comic, guys. Sorry, Manus would be pissed. I'm getting psyched. But then the action, and then kicks them off. They do some anime run at, and we get some action lines. Another great shadow pan there.
Yeah. Matt spends a lot of time talking about how horrible and bestial Argent is, and I think that the shadows kind of help kind of make that happen. Argent is portrayed. There's not a ton of variation in his future portrayals, but the one person who stands out to me the most is the way Guy Davis will handle him later.
Okay. And in what book?
Well, there's a pinup. Oh, there's a really ugly pinup at the end of Devil in next week's episode. And there's a black, white, and red story where he has a dog body almost, where it's a very stout torso and spindly, weird legs, and he's really scary looking. Ooh. So we'll get there.
Yeah. And then we see the walk and sizz happening. The trees starting to blow up, starting to catch fire, and then back into Coleman.
It's not quite symmetrical. The layout, it's.
Oh no, yeah.
Pretty close to it though. If not, it's
very well balanced though. Yeah. Where you got the square and then you have kind of like an L and then you have the full rectangle. That happens on both sides.
Yeah, I love how wide a lot of these shots are, where
Definitely.
it's real far away and there's still
And the middle panel, it's like Hunter Grendel kicks Argent and then he flies. So like the action is happening for that full panel, despite there being another panel on top of it.
yeah, and it's
Actually, one
moving
long
from
panel.
right to left,
Right. Yeah.
right?
With the
So
kick,
Matt's
and then
saying,
he's like, ah.
Matt's trusting, his scholarly readers to be able to not get confused.
Exactly, and to follow the action, which I think is clear.
The Wednesday guys are losing their fucking mind.
And then back to the interrogating Miss Coleman. They were just arguments, nothing more. The same thing any woman scorned would say.
Well, the last time I fought, people said you would kill him. Oh, it's a figure of speech.
Yes. Every woman wants to kill their husband sometimes.
This is a nice drawing of Rachel Coleman. I think that Matt's beautiful women are they're always sexy, but their beauty for me is sometimes a little hit or miss. And I think he really hits it hard here. The acting is really strong.
Some of the more detailed eyes that we see in all of these first 3 issues. Mm-hmm. They're not anime eyes. They're not just circles. They're detailed and full.
Yeah, and a wonderful sense of drama in the second to last panel where Rachel's face is partially in shadow.
Right. Really, and he's just like, and in both panels of Atkins here, he's in complete shadow. Mm-hmm. Because almost because he's not getting anywhere. He's not getting the information he wishes he was, and he kind of is darker and darker as he's like, damn.
Left in the dark.
Right. Literally left in the dark. Exactly, yeah. Ben.
This is I really like the way panels 2 and 3 kind of the layout sort of interacts. They kind of link together.
Right. And his panels are just open.
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. But I think that God, I'm going to say it for every page moving forward. This is my favorite layout of the book.
Yeah.
This one I cannot wait to dig into the layout on this Argent Grendel scene. It is unbelievable.
Oh, the next page?
And the next page.
Beautiful.
We got a shot of Argent, a shot of Grendel. They're saying whatever it is. They're doing their dastardly dialogue.
Oh yes.
And then we have it's a Tetris piece shaped panel.
Yeah.
That we go down and then we move to the right and there's an arrow telling us where to go.
Right. Why do you think he felt the need for this arrow versus all the other pages that are equally as creative? And
I think that in the moment where you as the reader are asking that question, you like Argent are distracted while Grendel sneaks off.
Oh my God. Genius.
I love how we got this backwards L shape that leads us to Argent, right? We got the tree on fire is the primary piece of narrative information. And then as we snake down, we get Argent in his surprise. He literally turns his head the other way with that arrow, and then, he's gone.
Gone.
I mean, I think the arrow is there as a practical measure. It's not, you don't need it. I think it's a great arrow. It's a great use of an arrow.
It distracts you. It does because it makes you be like, oh, okay. And then we're here, but then, I thought I knew what was happening, but then you don't.
How do you feel about arrows in books by people that aren't your favorite cartoonist?
I feel like they're not for me. Like I knew where it was going, but some people might not or something. Although at times, if you get too crazy, I almost think the arrows are never put in by the cartoonist. They're put in later by like an editor or someone that was like, I don't understand what's happening here. And they're like, fine, I'll put an arrow in.
In a lot of like proto comics, like newspaper stuff, Winsor McKay, turn of the century stuff.
Right.
There's not only arrows, but like word balloons will be numbered. Or even earlier, like in like Victorian editorial comics, word balloons will be numbered or something like that.
Right.
And it's, It depends on, again, it depends on how Wednesday you are, I guess. You know,
Yeah.
whether or not you want to accept it.
That's a funny, like, derogatory term that you use.
I love them. They're the Wednesday. I love you. Buy my book. We need you. We need you, Wednesday, to keep this industry afloat. So,
True.
you know, you can jibe these guys, but like they pay the rent on the brick and mortar stores.
Yeah, you're right. We need them.
So thank you guys. Buy my book.
All right, and we're back to Atkins. Now he's asking everyone to empty their pockets. Like, you don't have to. I don't have a warrant, but if you cooperate, that shows that you don't have anything to hide.
Now Richards is on duty, so there's nothing in his pockets. Not even a key or a wallet, or
Yeah, nothing.
he's like probably going commando too, you know.
So he's emptying his pockets. What about you, Richards? Yeah, he's like, search me if you like, but I got nothing on me. And he's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. And we see on the table, we see what looks like some keys. Looks like a bullet, but no, you know what? I think it's probably lipstick.
Yeah, I
See like a book or something. And then we see a pill bottle.
Yeah, a little RX bottle. So we'll get to that later, but the bottle's interesting.
The bottle's interesting.
The bottle's interesting.
Back to the battle. Back to the action. From bottle to battle.
Beautiful. Look at the beautiful shadows on Argent.
Oh my God. Great
so
stuff.
Great. He's so great.
Yeah. And again, a lot of his word balloons, again, kind of call back to the scratchiness of that spread from last issue to kind of show
the Native American zigzag
pattern,
stuff. Yeah. Interesting. I like
and then we kind of go down and are looking up, and we see Grendel's actually in a tree.
Yeah.
He didn't ninja vanish. He went up in a tree.
Some nice camera work here.
Absolutely.
And I really like, you know, earlier Grendel acknowledged that he's not a physical match for Argent. And so he says, I've got to get this. Like he's smart enough to know that he needs to be humble in this strike. I enjoy that. I enjoy that quite a bit.
Absolutely. And he's got to time it just right, and he drops down, and oof, we get another one of those matte lips that I like with the jut out and the little half side. Greatness.
Yeah, I remember meeting, I look at this Argent mouth and I'm reminded of an early meeting with Neil Adams 15 years ago when I had some question about style and manga and blah blah blah, and he described the mouths in manga like there was a fish hook in them. So
it does look like that. Yeah.
So we're seeing it. I like it a lot. What do you think he's doing? Putting his knee in his kidney or something like that?
Yeah, kind of. And I think maybe going for like a half Nelson, or going for like a chicken wing, trying to bind him up, you know, and to take him by surprise from above, kind of the drop down. I've got you. I've won. I have the higher ground.
Did you wrestle?
I did.
So did I.
Interesting.
We are the same fucking dude.
Yeah, we're really very simple. Very simple. So similar. I was never any good. How about you?
I was also we're Jewish guys.
Yeah, we're not good.
I did 2 years on the junior varsity squad. I had a good time.
I wrestled until my hair got too long, and they said, you either cut your hair or you have to quit. And I was like, I guess I quit.
That's very prophetic.
Yeah.
There's that story. Yeah, okay, so anyway, back to Atkins.
Yeah, he's got his pill bottle, and he like with it like fillets it there for a second.
Yeah, he gives it a sniff. I like.
Nah, he's sniffing it. It kind of looks like if it's the same mouth as the cigarette earlier, then it would be. He's like,
it would be wrapped
putting
around
it in his mouth.
Really nice, almost U-shaped layout where the first panel of him removing the top is in the center, and then we've got these kind of L-shaped panels surrounding.
And I think the starkness, the whiteness of this compared to like the darkness that's happening on the other page, it's kind of, it shows what's happening, and it shows that he's getting a clue. He's coming out of the dark a little bit.
He's getting a handle on it. Interesting.
Right. So
yeah, a lot of these panels have that kind of really heavy cross-hatching.
Right.
And this just doesn't.
Yeah, this doesn't have any of it. And so he smells it, and he's like, yo, Miss Coleman, and that's where the page turn is.
Now, we'll more on this on the next page.
More on this as the page turns.
Now, this is the other left-handed stack that I wanted to talk about, and I really love this because you can read this. You can read this any way you want to, right? You can go A B A B A B, or you can go A B B B. It works pretty well either way. What do you think you're supposed to read these four, and then these three? What do you think's going on here?
I think as I'm viewing this, I'm still thinking of like the heightened action in an action movie, and so I like the walk, and then the battle, and then him, and then the battle, and then he's like, "What's battle?" Like, so for me, it heightens the action to go back and forth. Mm-hmm. That's just for me as a reader.
Yeah, I love when comics are done creatively. I always use the phrase with my students: you're bringing the story to life in your own imagination.
Absolutely.
And so there's a lot of different ways you can edit this together in terms of timing. This is just a wandering pedophile.
Yeah. Just yep, he's whistling his own tune. He's like just trying to pedophile around, and he's like, "Dang, I just struck gold."
This guy, the design doesn't change, I don't think, at all between this and Devil by the Deed.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This weird fucking guy who just picks up Stacy off the street. While so it looks like Hunter has got Argent. Maybe he's doing a nerve pinch or something on the neck while his legs are wrapped around him. He's got the praying mantis legs wrapped around him, and Argent reels up and back and tosses Grendel right off his back.
But still, Grendel is very balletic. He's very smooth. He dismounted, in a smooth fashion. Like he might have even like pushed off and was able to like get away that way or something.
Yeah, like when you push off of the wall of a swimming pool. Almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Really nice.
And then back in where Atkins starts to accuse. He says, "Dude, this bottle, it's cyanide. I smell it." She's like, and it's like, and the contents of your purse include a cyanide capsule. And she's like, "What?" So this is kind of setting up.
Didn't she know that she was taking a cyanide capsule out of her purse?
Right. Wouldn't she be like, "What is this?" Immediately when she took it out, she'd be like, "What the?" So you had the motive, opportunity, and the means. And she's like, "But Lieutenant," and he's like, "and apparently plenty of incentive from the greater part of a bottle of scotch." So he's like, "You're drunk, You hated him, you're pissed off, you just happen to have cyanide." And then he's like, "Well, son."
When he smells the booze on her breath.
Oh, and he's like, "Whew." Oh, okay. I see. That's his. Yeah, that's cool. I didn't. Yeah, you're right.
He has a very strong sense of smell here.
Yeah, she's like, "But Lieutenant," he's like, "Oh snap! Oh shit!"
Yeah. So the rhythm here, the 8-panel grid, the rhythm really heightens the tension.
Absolutely.
And the first time, the first 4 panels are solo shots. The last 4 are 2 shots, and it's when her jaw is open in panel 5, and then she speaks, and that's when he smells the booze.
Yeah. And he's like,
in panel 8, there's a manga thing that I want to mention, and it's that I don't know if it's Understanding or Making Comics, but in one of those volumes, Scott McCloud talks about how if you give your manga, a manga trope is that when you slightly cross the eyes of a character, it makes them look kind of dumb. And I think that's kind of going on here.
Right. She's playing dumb, because this sets up another strand that is never solved, is that, who framed her, or did she do it?
Yeah.
Or was she framed?
Who indeed? Yeah. Who could have done it?
Yeah. Who done it? It's not really said. Like, her reaction is kind of like, "Yo, someone planted this on me." And that's kind of like what I got. And, there's a lot of twists and turns and a lot of mystery that goes into Hunter Rose and the twists and turns of this. So, it could have even been Grendel. Like, did he want to do something so that he could
Well,
Wire Stacy.
Hunter acts genuinely confused, but Hunter is not a reliable narrator.
Absolutely not.
You know, there's something is not quite right with Hunter Rose.
Yeah.
And we don't really know. We never really get a sense of exactly what that is. And I can't wait to get into Behold the Devil down the road when we can really talk about, it's like, Matt makes it seem so straightforward, but when you ask Matt straightforward questions, he gets really cagey.
Right.
So there's something really fucking crazy going on here.
Right.
I love it.
And another great storyline that's, Grendel action matched up with a police investigation. So that's something that he likes to do.
Absolutely.
Next page, the action continues with Grendel and Argent and also the roving pedophile.
Right. And the layout, this is great because when you compare the layout of the last time we saw this, the last time we were here, to this one, we've still got that left-handed 4-panel stack.
Yep.
And now, and it was a right-handed 3-panel stack, and now I've got 4 and 4. So like the Frank Zappa, Frank Miller musical composition, comic book composition, rhythm stuff is really on display here. Eli, I can't get enough of it.
And amazing the tones that he's using to show the action with Grendel. He does a front flip here. He dives from where Argent, threw him. He dives, rolls, bounces up, grabs his stick out of the thing, looks back, and takes a slice right out of Argent's chest.
So dynamic, that pose.
So dynamic.
I can't get enough of the Argent pose with the shadow and the arc and the blood and all that. And then the other thing, oh God, it's really, really well done. And then I love the last panel of the roving pedophile. I mean, it looks like Robert Crumb in Spain Rodriguez. It looks like something out of Zap Comics. It's so great.
And he's just like, it's so creepy too. He's like, why? It's a little girl, a pretty little girl. And he's like, he's like looking around. He's like all alone. That could almost be a question mark right there. And he just kind of, picks her up like he's got a commodity, like it's like not like a living thing that he's found. It's like, here is something I can use that's slung over my arm. And
well, when you compare the way Hunter carries her to the way this guy handles her, man, this theme, this is, Matt described it as Grendel's one rule, and it's that you don't exploit children.
Exactly.
And poor Stacy and poor Hunter, and this guy's gonna get his comeuppance.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah.
And then we go back to Atkins. This way, Miss Coleman. And then we got a regular Joe coming in here. Lieutenant, the garden's on fire.
I think this is Rachel's. She looks her loveliest in this panel. I think
she's being taken away.
Yeah, I just think, the way that Matt handles the hair and the eyes and the figure and the drapery of the sleeve, he finally really, really nails it here.
Yeah.
Quite nice.
And it's just a 2-panel page there, the whole spread. They're walking her out in cuffs as a police officer yells, Lieutenant, the garden's on fire.
And then another splash. Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. Great stuff.
Let's talk about the screen tone on the smoke. You think that's razor blade? What do you think's going on there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know.
It's got a really, really kinetic, wonderful look to it.
It really does.
Yeah.
But it's also not just flat. Like you said, it's got some cuts. It's sparse and dense, and there's got some breaks in there. So
yeah, I guess I asked just because there's some breaks that are huge,
right?
That he fades into.
Yeah.
So it looks like he's having a lot of fun, whipping the blade.
Absolutely.
Whipping the blade, just like our character. Argent, you're too tough, and this is too fun to end right now. So I challenge you. I defy you to catch me. Try if you can to put an end to the reign of Grendel.
Yes, man.
As he bleeds out. I really like the shape of Argent's mane going down his spine.
That's cool. Yeah, very lupine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And then for the first time, we get a break. We don't go back to the thing. We don't go back to Atkins. That story's done. We continue with Grendel. This was exhilarating, but I must cut it short, like I just did to you.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so then he starts thinking about Stacy for the first time, and it's a little too late. With Hunter being gone, I think I've made a very bad decision. Someone might connect Stacy being gone with Hunter being gone and Grendel being seen. Got to sneak her back in quick. But,
I really like the screen tone on the three diagonal.
Right. Yeah, it gets a little darker.
Yeah, well, the camera rotates exactly 90 degrees to the left, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the tone gets a little darker, and it kind of has that. It's a gradient, right?
Right. Yeah.
But what happens with this gradient is that it sort of takes on the cast of a checkerboard.
Right, like
at the midway point. Yeah.
And then he's like, I gotta sneak her back in quick. He jumps into the night, and that's when he finds Stacy. She's gone.
Yeah, the spot on the sidewalk where he left her.
Yeah,
like the werewolf is.
Well, he got sidetracked. Like really, what should have happened is what's his name should have come and picked her up.
Yeah.
But
what happened? Radcliffe? Does he say Radcliffe? I've got the girl, or does he say come get me?
He just says come get me.
Yeah, well, he should have said come get the girl.
Yeah, he's like I've got Stacy. Like swoop her up.
Yeah.
If he would have, if Radcliffe was as good as he said, he should have been on the scene in the backgrounds.
Yeah, you'd think Hunter's people would be a little bit more competent.
Right, they would know. And so then we've got Stacy, she's gone, and it says to be continued, but it's never continued in this format. Now, in the comic book, we do have a bonus pinup poster right here by Matt, and then on the next page we say what's happening, Comico mobiles, and we see something like a mage mobile that you can get $20 from the Comico company, and we also have a mage ad at the end.
You can get them right before the book comes out. That's great.
Yay!
I bet that was Bob Schreck's doing. Very cool. Very cool.
So there would have been a lot of lines to cover in the next issue. We would have gone in and continued with Atkins probably investigating the murder, investigating and interrogating what's her name?
Coleman, yeah.
We will.
It's very funny how the format, moving forward into Devil by the Deed, how the format and the rhythms contrast, right? Because the last 150 pages?
These 3 issues or 4 issues, I guess. Yeah.
105 pages or whatever it is. It moves at the pace of a comic book, what you'd be used to in superhero fare. And then Devil by the Deed is, one of the reasons it's so well regarded is because it's so different.
Right. So different than almost any other comic out there ever done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
what we just read is nearly the first 4 pages of Devil by the Deed.
Exactly. And like I said, it's been a while since I read it. And so it was nice that and I didn't go back to reread it because I wanted to keep the questions in my mind and I wanted to keep thinking. So I didn't have all that in my head still. So I'm excited to dive into that again. So what do you think will be moving forward? We'll do Devil by the Deed. And then do you want to do Behold the Devil, the 2000s Hunter Thompson or Hunter Rose story that Matt wrote, or Devil's Child next, or?
Well, I think, there's Black, White, and Red.
That's right.
Red, White, and Black.
Right. That all takes place while Hunter's still alive.
Oh man, you know me. Like I wanna do Behold the Devil so bad. I almost don't want to wait.
All right, so let's do that next.
After Devil by the Deed.
No, what'd you say?
Well, we'll do Devil by the Deed.
Yeah, next week will be Devil by the Deed.
And then we can jump into Behold the Devil, I suppose.
And then do Black, White, and Red after?
I don't know. I think you really have to do Black, White, and Red because there's all these little questions that kind of round out what happens are answered by that. Yeah. And so as much as I want to get to Behold the Devil, I think we have to do that. And then the other question is, when are we going to do Batman and Shadow? And I read Batman. I read Grendel versus the Shadow this week for the first time.
It's great, isn't it?
I loved it. I had such a good time. And we were talking earlier this week in general about how much I hate crossovers.
Oh yeah.
Because they don't mean anything. They're not canonical. And the Grendel crossovers absolutely are.
They very much are.
And they're great.
Yeah. And I think too, with Devil Child, the Diana Schutz, Tim Sale, Matt Wagner book, we should do that right before we move into Christine Spar.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
Now,
that's going to be a heavy one, and it's going to,
really heavy.
Thank you in advance, Diana, for helping us through that one.
Yeah, it's a really intense book, and again, that's not one that I tend to go back to. Honestly, it's a tough read, and it's really powerful. So it's going to be another interesting one to go through.
Well, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
That's right. Next week we'll be back with Devil by the Deed. So I think maybe it could be fun to start at the end here, maybe giving it a grade, or we could add a little thing in here like how do you rate this one? Because I think it's pretty high. You don't want to do it?
Fantastic. It's
it's so good.
I give everything an A.
I know. That's why we're here. It's that okay. Segment meaningless because we wouldn't be exalting.
The thing is, with all this stuff throughout the saga, some of it's better than others, but it's so committed to being different and innovative every time out the bat that even if it's not my favorite story, it's always interesting to see what storytelling systems are in place and how Matt and his collaborators try to get there. Exactly.
And the creative ways that they do. Mm-hmm. And what we'll see in Black, White, and Red, Red, White, and Black is the creative ways that the artist interpreted Matt's sketches and how Matt interpreted their style and how they are the serpent that eats its tail and they're both feeding each other, which is going to be super interesting. So I'm excited for that. Anything else you've got?
That's 3 in the box, ready to go. We be fast.
They be slow. We'll be back soon. We've got a theme song for Manus coming back. We are now on iTunes, so you can check us out there. Search for us on iTunes, Spotify, Podbean, Podchaser, Cast, Bash, whatever you want. Wherever you get your podcasts, and the vodcasts are on the Cosmic Lion Productions YouTube. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Grendelin.
Vivat.
Vivat Grendel.
2 in the box, ready to go. Be fast, and be slow. Yeah. Vivat Grendel.
It's like the devil is my best friend. On the rose with the pen to the fork end, or till time end. Like Orion, Jupiter my kin, bloodline private. We control the whole shit. The wolf won't beef, then we feast off the rip. Behold the devil in detail. Behold the devil in